Hello everyone, welcome back to Code Glancer. I am again ready with the new video. So in this video, I am going to continue from where we have left in the last video. So tune to this video. So now if you see, we have domain classes and some enum. So now we are going to create basically some other packages now. So I am just going to create one DTO package, so data transfer object, basically whatever the version we have in the database, so whatever the version classes we have in domain, similarly we have to create DTO classes, but maybe not in the same structure or same order or something, because from the from the client side data might not come in this respect, right? So in with respect to that, we have to create some classes. Okay, so let's create that. So let me create first user DTO. So done, and then I'll create quickly feedback DTO. Again we have to create the interview DTO, and then we have to create talent DTO, and lastly we have okay. All right, so these DTO classes are created, and so what is the next thing? So next thing is like we can start from creating the controller. So let me add one more package. So controller package is basically all the REST endpoint we will be exposing in the controller. Okay, and then we need some kind of service package where the business logic will be there. So let me write service, and then for talking to the databases through the query or for select statement, we need the repository classes. So I am just creating one package as a repository. So let me first quickly create the skeleton of this project. So we will have one controller called user controller. Okay, and user controller will have a dependency of user service. So private user service, user service. So this service is not created, that's why it's giving some error. So let me create this user service here quickly. So I'll come to here and then new class as a user service. So this is going to be interface. Okay, so now our user service is created basically, and we can import this here. All right, and then we have to create one repository class, right? So let me create the user repository, user repository. All right, so with this our basic skeleton is created. Whenever the request will come to user controller, it will talk to user service, and user service will talk to user repository. Now let me see what are the things we have to do. So first of all, to make this class as a REST resource, we have to annotate with @ request mapping and @REST controller, right? And now we are going to first of all define how you will create the user. So for that we have to use the post mapping, and so we have to create here public method, and that is going to be http entity of user DTO. Okay, so this is like create user, and here we have to write like at request body user DTO user DTO. Okay, so this request body is basically whatever the JSON you will send, that will automatically convert into the Java classes. Okay, all right, and then we can just call this user service dot okay, not call, first of all let me return something. Return, so what we have to return? New response entity, and this is going to be basically user DTO, and this is going to be HTTP status of created. HTTP. Okay, so we are just creating. All right, so now if you see here, this is the request mapping, like class level request mapping. So I am giving this as a /users, and this is like /user, and if it is the post, this is by default like create. Okay, no need to give here another name, because the restful resources says that you have to use in this way. Okay, now what we have to do, we have to define some method in the user service. So let's come here. This is interface, so by default public will be there. So I am just writing like what was the response type. So the response type was user DTO create user, and it was taking user DTO user DTO. All right, so with this we have finished one function definition, and this is one interface, and it can have its own implementation classes, right? So I am going here, I am just creating one another package impl, and here I am going to give the definition of this. So user service impl is class, it will implement user service interface. So it will asking for implementing the method, so I just implemented here the method. Okay, now this class we have to create the bin also. So for creating the bin, we can write like add service, so this will create the bin. Okay, now this service user service will talk to user repository, so we have to write here private user repository and this we have to annotate with auto wire, so that it will automatically detect any implementation of user repository and it will give you, right? So all right, till here we are good. Now we have to give the definition of user repository. Just give me 1 second, I am coming to that point, how we can do the user repository basically. Okay, so if you go to user repository class, this is here, it is going to extend user, and this time we have a long, I guess. So this is going to be long. Okay, so I'll explain you bit a minute what is the meaning of this. So this user service is user repository is going to be the interface. Okay, and this is going to extend the JPA repository. So all this method will by default come. Okay, like all the method like save method, delete method, update method, these will automatically come here. Okay, so all right, so and you can mark this repository class with @repository, so that it will it will just create one implementation class of repository class at the runtime, but this is an interface basically. Okay, so now with this we are okay. So user service user repository dot, what we have to do, we have to call the save method. So if you see the save method here, it is taking user, but we have a user DTO, right? So we have to convert this user DTO, okay, to user. So if you give directly here this one, this is not going to take, because here we have taken the generic in the user repository as a user. Okay, so for doing that we have to use some kind of a mapper. So let me create one mapping directory where DTO to domain class mapping we can do. So in mapper, and here we can basically create one file called user mapper. So what is the role of this user mapper? So this is going to give you, okay, so it will have some method like user DTO to DTO, and this is going to take the user. So basically this will give you the user, and I am making this as an interface. I'll tell you why I am making, like I will use some predefined tool to do this. Otherwise you have to write your own implementation. Okay, so for the time being this is the interface, and I am going to use like user mapper here, private user mapper instance I am creating. And then yeah, so here what we have to do, user mapper dot, what we want domain object, right? So to user we can give here like this, right? And this will give us one user. Okay, this user we can pass it to here. All right, and once we pass, this will also give us one user entity. Okay, so this user entity, but return type is user DTO, right? So again we can use the user mapper dot to user DTO, and basically you can pass here the user entity. Okay, so this time this looks irrelevant, but when we progress on coding like complex coding or complex mapping, then you will understand the importance of why actually I am doing this. Okay, and then we can return here. Okay, so with this this approach is completed, but if you see here we have to auto wire this. Okay, and this is the user mapper where we have just given the dummy method but not given, so how it will work basically, right? So to make this there are some jars basically which will do the work of this. So for that we have to use map construct. So if you go to here form.xml, we have to add one dependency. This is called map construct, and we have to add the version of map construct. So let me add the version as well of map construct. So the map construct version I am using is this one. right? So it will automatically download some jar, and then we can use this map construct. So map construct is having some annotations. So how those annotations are there, like at the rate mapper or some other annotations are there. So I'll tell you in a bit a minute. Okay, so now come to this mapper class. Where is our mapper class? Mapper class is here. You just make this as a mapper. So if you see here, this is coming from the or class. So how does it work? Like it will check what is inside the user. So this will take all the column name if both are same, and then it will take the target and source, right? So this is the source and this is the target, it will match. So currently we have not given anything, so we have to give. And if there is a different name, then you have to use a different annotations, otherwise it's fine, right? So let me just copy paste all this for the time being, and we will put here in the user DTO class, and these annotations are not required basically. Okay, so this is also not required, this is not required. So let me do alt J, it's not working. Okay, all right. So now with this we have given here, and we have to annotate this with at the rate data, right? And okay, so now if you see here, these both are similar, right? So it will automatically map. When I compile this, it will just create uh, one kind of implementation class for user mapper. Okay, so let me do it and I'll show you. So let me clean this. And let me install this. Okay, all right. So if you go to the target generated classes, com, code, glancer, interview, scheduler, in the mapper, right? So if you see here, we have now inside the implementation, I don't know why it's not generated. I think I have to use one plugin, just give me a second. So we have to use one plugin here, then only it will work, otherwise it will won't work. So let me now again compile. What is this plugin? This plugin is just doing the mapping from domain to other classes. Let me just again clean and compile this one. Okay, okay, all right. So now let's see. Now if you see here, green button is coming and you can go even here. So if you see here, this is now generated annotated classes, right? Okay, and So how this is created, like I did not write anything. This class plugin itself retain the mapping. It detect like if there is a match, then it auto generated this one. Okay, so this is a very good way. Otherwise, like you have to do each time some changes, then it will take a lot of time basically, and maintenance costs are involved. That's why there are some plugins here, okay, using which you can just do your mapping kind of work very quickly. Okay, one more thing I just want to say here. Okay, so password and all we do not want to mark while from user to DTO at the time of creating. So target password I am just ignoring because source is the user. This is like database one which will have the password, so I am just ignoring, like it won't work basically here. Okay, so with this mapper is also done. And now if you see here, this one we have created one implementation class, and this is mark as a service. So here what we have to do, we have to auto wire basically. I am not using the constructor injection. I am instead of constructor I am using the setter injection. You are free to use any one. Okay, at the rate auto wire. Okay, now it's time to run the application and see how it is working or not working. So let me summarize what we have done. We have created one user controller, and we have given request mapping as slash user, and we have one method like you create user, and it is having a user DTO as one of the parameter. And then we have to basically call here user service dot create user, and we have to pass this, right? So if you pass this, what will happen, this will also return some updated data. So I am just putting here like this, and this then we are returning to the as a HTTP entity. So if you go to inside this, what is happening, this is converting the user DTO to user is the domain object, and then it is calling the user repository dot save user, and then it is giving the save user. Then again I am converting the user entity to user DTO, because DTO is my what do you call object here. Okay, all right. So with this we are able to finish one flow, like one API is reading slash users, which will which is basically post API. So let's start the application. Meanwhile, let me open the Postman tool for testing this. So now it's time to test the application. So I have run this application successfully, and if you see, this is already running. And let me just clear all the logs. And I have already opened the Postman tool. So basically this is a tool to test any RESTful API. So what is the method here? If you open first time, this will give you like which method do you want to test. So if you see here, in the controller class, we have expose slash user slash post mapping, right? So we have to take here the post method of HTTP. So I am taking here, and HTTP is the default prototype for RESTful web services. And then we have port number is 8080. I have not given, so by default the port number is 8080. And then what is here, users, because if you see here, users I have given here, right? So slash user. And then what we have to, with this we are able to give the uh, path basically for this API. Then we have to go to here, request body, and then we have to select raw here. And then here, from this drop down you have to select the JSON, because this is the JSON data. So, and if you see here, in the user DTO these are basically fields, so what we have to give. So I have already given him. Let's change this name. So I am making this as a Sachin, and Sachin Dubey, 1993, let's say, and this is the same mobile number and password, and role as a he is, let's say, interviewer or admin. Okay, he is suppose admin. So when we hit with this, there should be some record created into the database. So let's do it. So if you see here, now it is created. So let's see in the logs what happened. So if you see here, I was telling you earlier, like there will be some hibernate queries getting executed. So it is saying that insert into the user, and these are the queries what he is executing, right? So this OTP and other field like forget token, these are not mandatory field, so these will be null. So now let's go to our table and see how many records are here in the users. So right click it, view all data, and come here, and this is the output here basically. So if you see here, and there are two record. So one is with Sudhir Dubey and one is with Sachin Dubey, right? So this is the Sachin Dubey we have just created, and this is the mobile number and name. Okay, and password is currently not hashed, but in the next video I will tell you how to hash the password, because you cannot keep the password plain into the database. And then these are the roles basically. Okay, so with this we are able to finish the first API of user service, which is the create API. So if someone wants to create the get API, what you have to do, just copy this one, right, paste here, change the name to get user. Okay, and get, this will be the get mapping, right? And here what it will take, so user slash user ID or email ID, right? So in this time what I am going to do, I am just going to do with email ID basically. So that is like I will take the path variable. So what is the path variable here? So path I am going to give as a that is going to be, let's say, long ID, right? And to give here ID, and this is going to be sorry, here we have to write like slash ID basically. Here no need to write anything. All right, and then we have to call user service dot get user, and we have to pass this ID here, and then it will return one user DTO, and this will be like get user. Yeah, so I think we have to create this class method in the interface. So ask him to create it. Now created, but it will break here, so you have to implement this method here. All right, and then user repository dot, what you can do, dot find or find by ID, right? Find by ID is here, and then you can pass this ID here, right? So what it will do, it will return you the matched user. Okay, so this is like you optional user. Okay, so maybe I am going to use find next video I will show you how to use the find by ID, because this will need let me show you, no problem. Optional user. So optional user dot, sorry, get, and here you can write your user, and then using the user mapper you can convert to DTO, sorry, to user DTO, and give it here user, okay, so that it will give you the user DTO, and this user DTO you can return it here. So with this we are able to successfully complete the get user API as well. So now let's restart this application and again test this. So for testing I will go to the Postman, and again I will open new request here. So this is like get, and we have this same URL. Instead of that we will have one or two like as a password or something, and let's see whether this application started. Yes, application is started. So if you hit this, this is the user one. So if you see here, password is coming as a null. Why this is coming? Because we have not done nothing. We do not want to show the password basically, that's why it is coming here. Okay, even okay, now we have here, if you see, we have created something called with 2 here, right, Sachin Dubey. So if you call here giving the ID as a 2, then it will give you some next data, right. Let's say give 3, which is not existing, then currently it will give internal server error because we are not handling this, right. This will, where it will break, it will break here basically, where we have get user, and this is giving the optional. So optional will come as a blank, but still we are trying to get it here. So this is going to give you the some kind of error. So for this we have to go with the exception handling concept, and then we, using that we can do it basically. So find by ID, okay, or yeah, so here we can do optional user dot or else throw, right. So if we use else throw, then here you can write if user is not found, what is the exception you have to throw basically, right. So I am just going to add one more package, like package name will be the exception, and I am just going to create one class here, interview. Okay, so this will be like resource not found exception, and this is going to implement runtime exception. I think it will extend here. Yeah, so what do you want to put here? Like it will have some private string message and private string code. So for the time being let's do only these two things, and annotate these classes with @data. All right, and we have to make some parameterized constructor as well. Okay, so what is that? Refact, okay, generate and constructor. So we can select this one. So this is basically creating some more class, so I will just manually generate this. So what is here, we have a resource. So I'll take the resource, and then I will take here code, and then we can do this dot code is equal to code, and this dot message equal to sorry, message. So with this we are able to finish this one also. So let me just throw here through new this exception, and what is the code we have to give here. So first one what I have put here, so first one is the message. So message is like yes, resource not found, and second is like status code. So I am saying like 404, let's say. So I think syntax is little different. Why there is error coming? It's not public. Okay, got it. So here we have to write public constructor, and then all right, we are now done, right? So instead of giving this exception value not present such an element, it will give the specified exception. Okay, so let us again run this, and then we can again test this one. Okay, so now it's done. So now let's test first of all valid one. So valid one is like 1 or 2. So if I give 1, with 1 data is coming, but there is no record with 3. So 3 data is not coming, internal server error. I'll explain you why it's coming, but at least with this now we are able to see that whatever the message we have given, that message is now getting printed. Okay, in the next video I will tell you like uh, how to solve the exception handling problem, because currently whatever the exception is coming, we are not able to return it to the client means whatever the source from we are calling. So in this case we are calling from the postman. So actually whatever the exception we are throwing, that exception actually come that should come here basically, but this is not happening currently. So in the next video what I am going to explain you like how do you handle global exception, and how do you give http response along with the exception exception code and message to the client. So that session is going to be little interesting, and I will explain you like in spring what is the way to handle the exception globally and throw the message as well as error code to the caller. If you have liked this video, please stay tuned to this channel and do like and subscribe. Thank you very much.